Hi, this is Rabbi Orlofsky, and welcome to the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Thank you, studio audience. That is, by the way, not canned applause. That's real. And whether you are listening on Torah Anytime or wherever you watch or listen to your podcast, it's so nice to have you along. And we have a sponsorship this week, particularly meaningful one. Leilei Nishmas Liba Chaya Bas Dovid was nifta this year at the age of 104. 104. The Chacham Reb Dovid. You know, he doesn't make videos. And somebody went to ask him to make a video for Rabbi Scheinberg's yeshiva, and he says, I don't make videos. He says, for Rabbi Scheinberg. He says, for Rabbi Scheinberg, then I have to. He said, did you ever wonder why Rabbi Yoshev, Rabbi Scheinberg, they were over 100? Yeah, it says, because nobody replaced them. When somebody lives that long, it's because the Kodesh Baruch Hu knows that there's nobody in the world to take their place. He lived to 104. She lost children in the Holocaust, was tormented by the communists, and managed to rebuild a family that is Shomrei Torah and mitzvahs. May she continue to be a Melitz Yosher for her descendants and Klal Yisrael. That was interesting. There was also someone who survived the Holocaust and lived to a very old age. When they were sitting Shiva, says, my mother always wondered. Says the train came from her town, and everybody was sent to the gas chambers except for her. And she said, was I not Roy to die as Kiddush Hashem? And I told her daughter, I said, some people are chosen to live as Kiddush Hashem. And that's much harder. So went through the Holocaust, went through the communists, and managed to build a Torah home. That is such a tremendous thing. So we're happy to this week use it as a Ilai Nishmas for this wonderful, wonderful lady, and her family, and all of Klal Yisrael should gain from her schuyas. We're in the middle of our seminary series. Somebody asked me, are you done? I said, me? I'm just warming up. No, I'm not going to go on forever because, I have other topics that I want to get to, and I get suggestions from people. Why don't you talk about this or talk about that? There are other issues that I want to talk about. But I'm going to have more to say. But then I realized it's Chanukah. It's not Yer Chanukah, it's Erev Chanukah. But I have to give a Chanukah message. It is very important when time comes around that we focus on what that is. Moed. We call it Moed, just like we say Ohel Moed. Ohel Moed is a place in space, and a holiday is a place in time. It's a Moed. Pointed place. So you see sometimes the Ohel Moed is translated into English as the tent of appointment. Yeah. So it's an appointed place. It's a destination in time. When you want to know where you are in space, you use a map. And if you want to know where you are in time, you use a calendar. And it tells you that there are opportunities that exist in this place at this time that you could take advantage of. Very interesting. The Gemara tells the whole story, May Chanukah, what happened. And it tells the whole story and the miracle that took place. And then it says, and the next year they made a holiday called Chanukah. Why? Because they wanted to find out whether or not this was an individual miracle that took place, or whether the miracle was a manifestation of an eternal truth that the miracle revealed. Lidugma. The Maharil says that the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva died from Pesach to Shavuos, except for special days. They didn't die on Shabbos, they didn't die on Rosh Chodesh, they didn't die on Pesach Sheni, and they didn't die on Lag BaOmer. So it's not that Lag BaOmer is a special day because the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva didn't die. It's that Lag BaOmer is a special day. The way we know it's a special day is because Rabbi Akiva's Talmidim didn't die. But that revealed the nature of the day. The 25th word in the Torah is Or. That is an allusion to the 25th of Kislev, which is Chanukah. The Mishkan, they started building it on Sukkot, and they finished it on the 25th of Kislev. They didn't realize the significance of that. They didn't dedicate the Mishkan until Rosh Chodesh Nisan, but that date that they finished was not a coincidence. It was something that was built into the fabric of the universe. That's why they finished that. So there are certain times. So the Chachamim wanted to know, B'nei Bina Yemei Shmona Kavu Shiurenanim. B'nei Bina, those who understand, Mevin Dova Toch Dova, they understood the essence. They made Chanukah. When the next year came around, then they sensed there was a power of the light returning at this time. And so that's why they were able to make it into a Yantav, as opposed to a miracle. There were many towns in Europe that celebrated a Purim. It wasn't a Purim for Klal Yisrael. It was a Purim for that town. They had a particular salvation, a particular Yeshua, and they would celebrate a special Purim for that town. Because they recognized it was a miracle that took place. But it wasn't a miracle for Gans Klal Yisrael. They wanted to know whether or not this was just a miracle that took place, or whether the miracle was the revelation of the fact that there was a power during this time. And when they sensed that power, how do you sense that power? I don't know. You have to be very spiritually attuned. Spirituality is a Jews for Jay told me, you can't tell me that my feelings are illegitimate. I feel that Jesus came into my heart, and now I feel that I've had a salvation, and you can't deny that I feel that way. I said, that's true. That's true. Doesn't mean it's real, but it's for sure that's how you feel. Because anyone can feel spirituality, doesn't mean it's real. Yeah. My brother, one Purim, put scratch-off lottery cards in everyone's shalach manos. So one guy scratched it off, and he won $1 million. He called his kids, he called his grandchildren. It was this, that was a mamish. He was so happy. And when he saw my brother, he thanked him so much. And my brother said, oh, those are joke ones that I put into the shalach manos. They're not real. The guy was very upset. I don't think he ever spoke to my brother again. Some people, no sense of humor. But that guy really felt like he had $1 million. He didn't, but he really felt that way. I saw somebody once. He was up. He was just floating on air. Bought a Powerball. He won $1 million or $10 million or $50 million. I don't know how much it was. And he was showing it to everybody. And finally somebody said, you're off by one number. You missed the number here. Okay, he still won something, but he was sure. He was sure. There's a story, an amazing story, where this woman in Boston went to her local Orthodox rabbi and said that she wants to wear a talis. She says, don't ask me. Soloveitchik's in town. Go and ask him. So Soloveitchik said, listen, we don't do things like that in Judaism. We don't just jump. Try wearing the talis without the tzitzis. See if you feel anything. And if so, we'll wear the tzitzis. So for a month, she's coming to shul. She's got the talis over her head. She said, oh. At the end of the month, she tells Soloveitchik, I felt such a spiritual elevation. I felt so, amazing. Yeah. He says, really? Because what you did was of no spiritual consequence at all, except that if you were a man, you would have gotten an aveira for wearing a four-cornered garment without tzitzis. That's called spiritual paganism. That's how I feel. I don't have to deny someone's feelings, but if you're a person who understands spirituality, you could say that, okay, that's how you feel, but that doesn't make it real. Doesn't make it real. So the B'nai Binah, these were people who understood spirituality, and they understood there was a power of the light coming back into the world at this time. The menorah being lit and burning for 8 days was the revelation of the power that was already there. It wasn't something outside of time. So there's a special opportunity, and that's why you'll forgive me if I'm breaking with the pattern over here. What's great about a podcast is you could just choose not to listen to this one until the next seminary comes out and listen to me rant and rave about that some more and then listen to this. But listening to a Chanukah podcast after Chanukah is like eating matzah brai on Shavuos. It's just not the same. That's what I think. Anyway, so I actually thought that maybe the next one, which also comes out on Motzi Shabbos, which will actually be Chanukah, I could do it then, but then it's already at the end of Chanukah, you know. The message is already, times have slipped away. It was interesting. I give a Motzi Shabbos shir every other week in Har Nof. Sometimes you can find it on Torah Anytime. It's on the parsha that we read that Shabbos. And one time somebody said to me, what good does that do? You should get us ready for the next week's parsha. Point well taken. Anyway, as my rebbeim would come when I asked them questions like that, their response was pretty standard. No. I remember one time on Purim, I said something to Rabbi Moshe Shapiro, you know. And if he thought what you were saying was illegitimate, he used to give it to you. To everybody except for me. He never yelled at me. Somebody noticed it once, goes, how come he's always so nice to you? I said, because he is a master mechanech. And he knows that if he yells at me, I won't get upset. I will just die. I'll just drop dead right on his So he's always very nice to me. So I said whatever it was that I said, and his eyes flashed. And everybody took a step back, and then he goes, no. So I said, when does the Rav use nu, and when does he use nu? Because I've heard him use both on me. He said, Zebeh Metzod. Now that's a secret. I can't reveal that. So, if you really wanted me to continue with the seminary thing and it breaks up your, sense of continuity, no. Anyway, but we got to talk about Chanukah. Yeah. Chanukah. Oh, Hashem. It's such a wonderful time. Yeah. You could just already feel your arteries hardening, just thinking about all the oil you're going to be pouring into you. And one of my nutritionists, I've gone to several, many of them gave up and, went into the professions. One turned to drugs and alcohol. But one of them said to me, if you have a choice between latkes and sufganiyot, definitely go with the latkes. It's less bad than the sufganiyot. So I weigh it carefully, and I understand the reason we eat these foods is because the Greeks worship the human body. That's why they always have those Greek statues, and they go Greek statuesque. And we're going to show that we reject that. We're going to look like Jews. So that by the end of Chanukah, you're sweating oil and just comes right out of your pores. Oh, it's great. I know everybody pretends that they don't like sufganiyot, but you can always tell, you see, because that's why they put the powdered sugar on it. Now, I don't know about in America, but in Israel, you can buy them without powdered sugar. Yeah, because if you get the powdered sugar, when you eat it, it gets onto you. And if you try to brush it off, all you do is make a glaze. And everyone knows in a second that all of your protestations about how you were never to sufganiyah is, in fact, you are betrayed by the powdered sugar. So I guess you can get the chocolate. They have them now. They got chocolate on the top. You just have a little chocolate stain here, a little cream, perfect little jelly. But be that as it may, when the time comes around, you always have to understand it. And it's interesting that the Maharal says this in regard to Chanukah, is where he speaks this out. And he says that time is not a circle. Because if it's a circle, you just keep going in a circle. You don't go anywhere. He says time is a spiral. So you come back to the same points, but it's always on a higher level. So you can't have the same Chanukah every year. Rav Hutner was very careful every yontif to say a maimer. Say a maimer. He says you can't let Moed go by without gaining a new insight into it. And so when one of his Talmidim said, when he was sitting Shiva, he pulled together some of his close Talmidim and said, I know I'm an Avelis, but you have to say a Maimer. You can't go into a moed without a mimer. You have to say something. So it's a opportunity when it comes around. And I want to talk about really one of my favorite topics, because I talk about it all the time, and that is culture. And that's one of the big things. Because you have to understand that we talk about Gullus Yavan, and it's a very strange Gullus because we didn't go into Gullus, we stayed in Eretz Yisrael. The Babylonians took us away. The Persians would not let us return. The Romans took us away. The Greeks, we stayed in Eretz Yisrael. They wanted to take the Jewishness out of Eretz Yisrael, not the Jews out of Eretz Yisrael. They didn't destroy the Beis Hamikdash, they defiled it. Everything that we talk, and that's why it's Chochmas Yavan. Yavan was an intellectual battle. Rome wasn't interested in us accepting their philosophy. They didn't have any philosophy. The first reference in the Torah, the Dal Malchios, the four kingdoms, Va'aretz ha'yesod tohu v'vohu v'choshech al pnei sahim. Emptiness, void, and darkness upon the deep waters. Tohu vohu, that's Bavel, that's Paras. Choshech is Yavan, al pnei sahim. Rome is the deep waters, obviously, it's the longest gullus. And Yavan is just a veneer on top of it. The Romans didn't have their own culture, they just stole everything from the Greeks. They took their entire pantheon of gods and just turned it around. You know, they took Zeus and they turned him into Jupiter. You know, that's what they did. They took everything that was there and they just made it. You know, made it as their own thing. They took Hermes and turned him into Mercury. They just took all of the gods and just changed it around. They kept it intact. They weren't interested in this. They took everything that was Greek. That's why the Gemara refers to them as a non-nation. They don't really have a culture. They stole everything. They were interested in one thing, power and control, and they weren't interested in contributing to the welfare of the world. Everything that they had, they took from Greece. But Greece, it was an intellectual battle. We may have spoken about this last year. I don't remember. I didn't watch the last podcast, so from a year ago. But when I went to school, I remember in my history book, they had a whole chapter dedicated to the light of Greek civilization. Now, okay, if you're sacrificing babies to Molech, I suppose, Greek civilization was a big stage up. It was presenting intellectualism, philosophy, science, university, theater, literature, sports, entertainment, everything that we think of as Western civilization, that was Greece. And Greece brought to the world all of this, which we call them darkness, choshech. They call themselves light, the light of Greek civilization. Compared to what everybody else had, it was a step up, but we had the Torah. Josephus writes, "We Jews are not given to the writing of many books. The Torah is our entertainment." So we do for fun. We don't have... There's no word in Hebrew for adventure. We don't go on an odyssey. We don't go on a quest. We don't fight the Minotaur. We don't go through the maze. Yeah, all these things that are in Greek mythology, all their adventures. We don't even have a word for that. The Odyssey, which describes Odysseus' journey back. So it's an exciting voyage, an exciting trip. We don't have things like that in Judaism. We don't have adventure. There's no word in Hebrew for fun. We don't have fun. Jews haven't had fun in thousands of years. Yeah. Fun is, there's a word in Hebrew, kef, that's an Arabic word. We don't have a word for fun. We have simcha, we have sasain, we have aliza, we have alitza, yeah. We have lots of words for happiness. 10 lashonos for happiness. We describe being happy, but fun? Fun is take me away from reality, escapism, the world of make-believe. The only time that we use make-believe is when there's a mushal, because we can't understand what we're talking about. Moshe Shapiro once said, you find these midrashim that have fantastical concepts and creatures and ideas being expressed. Why? Because I'm trying to find words to tell you something that you can't relate to. So I have to find something that you can hear, at least on your own level, to try to be able to relate to it. It's fantastical. But escape from reality? There's this beautiful concept in the non-Jewish world. When a couple gets married, so they rush off to their honeymoon. They go to Disneyland, Club Med, someplace exotic and exciting, and they live this make-believe existence, a music video life. Then they come home to real life, and they have to settle back in, and they just remember this tremendous romantic time that they had. We have something very similar to that. It's called Sheva Brachas. You don't go anywhere. Every night, you are surrounded with friends and family in a small apartment with a bunch of chairs that are all shtupped together. There's no room. If everybody has to get up to leave, the entire room has to get up. You eat a bareka and chicken with rice, and parva ice cream. The menu has come down to us through the years. Somebody pointed out that Shlomo Melech spent most of his life in Sheva Brachas. If you make the calculation. I said, no wonder he died at 52. You eat all the barekas and parva ice cream, it's got to kill you. And that's it. Every night you're exhausted. You can see the couple. They're like, the girl spends her entire time trying to see if her sheitel is on right. It's like, And the guy is sitting there listening, to speeches from people that he doesn't know and, picking at his bareka, very exciting. So and that goes on for a week. So he doesn't have to first then come back to real life. You're already there. I made Aliyah. I moved to Eretz Yisrael. The first year we didn't officially make Aliyah. We moved here, 1988, and it was just pandemonium. We'll speak about making Aliyah, but how I did it was the wrong way to do it. But anyway, I was going with 4 little kids. The oldest was I don't know if she was 5 yet. Maybe she was 5. The youngest was 6 months, and it was just craziness. And this couple comes over. And one scoops up one kid in a suitcase, the other one scoops up the other kid in a carry-on, and carries us onto the plane. I don't know what we would have done otherwise. So we said, thank you so much. You're going to Israel? They said, yeah, we're celebrating our honeymoon. They didn't look like your average honeymoon couple. And they saw that I was surprised, and they said, your honeymoon is after 10 years. Because otherwise you're going away on some make-believe vacation with someone you don't know. What's the point? Yeah. If you go to Disneyland and you don't know enough to be able to laugh at it, and you buy into it, like one of the first times I went to Disneyland, and there was a tram, and this person asks one of the Disneyland people, where's Goofy? I'm parked in Goofy. He goes, it's right there past Alice in Wonderland. I said, thank you very much. I don't think anybody appreciated the irony of the conversation that was taking place. You just buy into it. Yeah. They have a saying at Disneyland that they don't have employees, they have actors. Everybody's an actor. They're all playing a role for your enjoyment. And if you can't laugh at it and realize that this whole thing is make-believe and you can buy into it, I feel that way sometimes when I go to America. But that's also for another discussion. But anyway, we stay rooted in reality. The most fun is reality. So we don't have entertainment. You never had Jewish theater in the good old days. Yeah. Jewish entertainment. We learn Torah. The more you are based in reality, ultimately the happier you're going to be. And if you need escapism, it's because your life itself is not that happy. So the Greeks bring to the world what we call culture. Sports. Okay, let's be fair. Okay, I'm not a sportsman. I was never good at sports. I was pretty good at miniature golf. That was more or less my sport. I could get the ball up the little volcano into the hole faster than most people. This was something that I had mastered. I could usually get it in between the spinning blades of the windmill, usually better than the average person. But surprisingly, the competitive miniature golf field has never been televised. I was okay at tennis. The problem was I only had a forehand. I don't know why I never mastered my backhand. So I spent a lot more time running around the court because I could only hit the ball with my forehand. So when they used to have those things in camp, where, elimination, I could get through 1 or 2 rounds. But after that, someone who's already in the 3rd round more or less has a backhand, and I was at a disadvantage. Yeah. It was like swimming. I don't know why. I know I've done this, and people have tried to help me from the time that I was 9. But I cannot, when I do the crawl and you turn your head and you're supposed to take a breath, I can't get a breath in. So I'm doing the move. I'm not breathing. And if you keep swimming and you don't breathe, eventually you're gonna run out of air. And that slowed down my swimming career. So I was never much of a sports person. I admit it. My brothers all were. And as such, I never really followed professional sports. I have no taiva for it. I know I have brothers. I have lots of friends who love to watch sports. They will sit there and watch a baseball game. Baseball games I didn't mind so much because nothing happens. It's very easy. Most of the time, the 2 people are talking about, their family, people they met, stuff that's going on, no, that was just a swing and a miss. Okay, and so anyway, so tell me, I heard your wife went down to the, there was one thing. Oh, there's a hit. So it was great. You used to just sit there and mostly eat, It was my kind of sports, You go to basketball, they're running the whole time. People are running, shooting. It's too much action for me, I've never gone to a football game. I've never even watched a football game. To watch 15 billionaires the size of refrigerator freezers smashing into each other, and then they all, stop and they line up again and they have a discussion for about 16 minutes and they show you the same thing over and over again. And then they line up again and boom, smashing into each other again, Ice hockey, a bunch of people with blades on their feet running around with sticks. Okay, so the opportunity for violence is very exciting. I understand that. But for me, that holds no appeal. Somebody told me they were at a fight and a hockey game broke out. So it gives you an idea about the nature of the sport, So golf, I don't know why anybody would watch golf. People were whispering. Oh, I see. He's whoop, and then they just show you a white ball and a white sky, and a laugh and a little applause. But people are crazy about sports. I knew somebody. I moved here in the 80s, and he says, "I'd love to move to Israel, but until they get Islander games, I can't come. I have to watch the Islanders." People were Boston Red Sox fans until they won the World Series. I mean, there was called the Babe Ruth curse after they traded Babe Ruth to the Yankees, they never won the World Series. And I remember one time when they lost in the playoffs, and this guy was crying. He says, "They did it to me. They did it to my father. They did it to my grandfather." But they remain fans because this is a Muna Shlema. But people's desire for sports, for entertainment. Our Rosh Yeshiva told me, he says, "I can work with every bacher with every problem. I can work with people who don't get up in the morning. I can work with kids who drink. Anything I can deal with, except if a kid has access to the internet. Because the taiva of our generation is just to sit and watch movies and TV all day. Nobody even watches anymore. You binge watch. Somebody mentions you a television show. It's been on for 7 years, and you sit down and watch the entire 7 seasons. Occasionally you doze off. You go to get something to eat. You know what I mean? But basically, that's it. You just sit. Nothing. It's an amazing. Most people don't know this, but outside of elevators, they have these giant mirrors. And the reason is because as long as people can look at themselves, they don't notice that they're waiting for the elevator. So they put you on a plane, they stick you in smaller and smaller seats. You're all cramped up. But that's okay because you have a little screen. You can sit there and watch. And you just disappear. And he said that's the taiva of our generation, is just to escape into a world of make-believe. That's what Yovan brought to the world. Culture, theater, art, entertainment, literature, the ability to be able to escape into the world of make-believe. The kor hadimyan, that's choshech. Or is reality. Light is truth. It shines the light on and you see what emes is. Torah is called or because it reveals reality. And comes Chanukah, and it's always ironic because we have special Chanukah performances, special Chanukah concerts, special Chanukah forms of entertainment. People, I've spoken about this in the past, what's wrong with a concert? Okay, so if we were just going to listen to somebody sing songs, okay, so you could get a CD. It's more fun watching them live, okay. But it has to come with a show. It has to come with a performance. My daughters go to Beis Yaakov's here in Yerushalayim. And they all have videos now. Sometimes it's a video of a person speaking who's right there at the event. But you'll watch them more on the screen than you will if they're talking in person. That's the reflection. That's what we prefer, the illusion than reality. I gave a mashal once. It says if you're walking and you're learning and you stop to admire a tree, flowers, right? So then you miss the whole point. Why? So because it's like I go to visit somebody and they say, "Do you want to see my kids?" And I say, "Don't you have any videos?" So I'll sit there and watch the videos of the kid. I could just walk into the house and see the kid. I was in Bangor, Maine, and we were riding in a speedboat out on whatever the harbor was over there. And I saw a tourist. He was in the speedboat, filming it, standing up, filming it. He was missing the experience, but he could watch it later. That's what happens. You go to Chassanas, I've spoken about this, how the video guy has control of the chuppah. Nobody can see the chuppah because the video guy is taking it over. I was an 8-day Kedushin, and the photographer I wasn't able to see what was going on, and I kept trying to push it in, and he said, "Get out of my way or I'll knock you to the ground." Wow. Because we got to get the pictures. So we have to be able to look at the pictures afterwards rather than to enjoy the moment. Chanukah, we light the lights. Light is Torah. Light is reality. We have to shine the light on the truth. Live life. Don't live the life of make-believe. Don't escape. Is it okay to go to, a Disneyland? I'm not posketing. But if you do go, just remember this is make-believe. I remember when I pulled into Disneyland, to the parking lot, it says, the happiest place on earth. Okay. We're obviously defining happiness differently, To wait online for 2 hours in order to be strapped into a machine that's going to hurl you upside down 100 miles an hour backwards in the dark is not my idea of an exciting time. I live in Yerushalayim. I could just take a taxi and have the same experience. I don't have to wait online for it, But it's okay as long as you understand that the whole thing is just make-believe. But when our life becomes illusions, becomes make-believe, that's the darkness of Yavan. So it's interesting. We don't really say have a happy Chanukah. We say have a lichtigen Chanukah. Have a light Chanukah, a Chanukah of light. Yeah, holiday of lights. And everyone should have a lichtigen Chanukah. And that's it for this week. If you want to find out more about the show, you can go to my website, RabbiOrlofsky.com. You can add comments, see my upcoming schedule, contact me. If you want to sponsor an episode, you can go to RabbiOrlofsky.com/sponsor. And that's it for this week. I'm Dovid Orlofsky, and this is the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.